life, like a life that I didn't want, but for some reason I continued to wake up. And for me, it was just dead woman walking. I remember the day I lost my spirit and I didn't care about anything or anyone.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery Happens. My name is Patrick Patterson with BW Rock, where we strive to reduce the stigma of addiction one episode at a time. Today we're going to be sitting down with Tammie as she offers hope to encourage recovery.
So I'm the oldest of 6 girls. My mom was a single mother growing up. My dad was extremely abusive alcoholic, which we ran from constantly. I went to about 7 schools before middle school. I quit school in 8th grade to join the life of drugs and alcohol, which became my master. I was blackout drunk by the time I was 14, pregnant by 15, and gave that baby to my mom because I was too busy doing other things. I think I told myself that I would go back to school, and I told myself that for many, many years. I did stay I tried crystal meth at 17, but was able to free myself from drugs and alcohol till I was 21, and that was it. As soon as I turned 21, I went out for my birthday, and I was drunk and high until I was 31. And so at 25, I was introduced with Vicodin, just by a boyfriend, nonchalantly, and that lasted for about 2.5 years, one marriage. And then at about 27, my uncle passed away that was like my dad. Not literally, but he was the only man that ever had loved me for who I was and helped take care of me. And he had passed away suddenly. And, my sisters, 3 of them were heroin and crack addicted and had been for many years, which made me feel better than them, until that moment. And the pills were too expensive, and it was getting to the point where I couldn't afford them anymore. So my sister said, "Why not try heroin?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea, right? Because it's cheaper. Why not?" And so from that moment on, the first time I used heroin, I had found what I had been looking for my whole life. She became my master. I would do absolutely anything and everything to be with her. Including give up. I had a son at 20, and I gave both of them away. I used to say that I was trying to better their life by giving them away, and the fact of the matter is that they were my way. And so I went down to Detroit, and that was it. Like, I never came back home. I spent the next 3 years in and out of jail. Unfortunately, I had contracted endocarditis, which is a blood infection that gets into you and it attacks your valves. And in 2004, I had open heart surgery, which at that point I had to have a pacemaker put in, and that basically was from shooting dirty water. So in 2004, I had the open heart surgery, and at the time I had gotten my first felony, which was home invasion. The uncle that passed away, I broke into his sister's house and tried to steal money, and went to jail. The thing I had realized is that I never believed that I was supposed to be an addict or an alcoholic, because every time I would pick up, I would end up back in jail, or I would end up in a hospital, fighting for what life, like a life that I didn't want, but for some reason I continued to wake up. And for me, it was just dead woman walking. I remember the day I lost my spirit and I didn't care about anything or anyone. In 2006, August 7th, I was part of the fentanyl when they first started, and I shot a bad pack of dope, and I ended up in a coma for 16 days. And when I came out of that coma, I had to learn how to walk again. And I remember walking to a mirror and for the first time in 3 years. And I remember looking, and I didn't know who I was looking at. I honestly, it had to grab, because I almost, because I was 116 pounds, so I couldn't really carry myself. But I remember this person that I looked at, and it was just it was black, looking through somebody. And so I ended up spending 6 weeks in the hospital for IV, because every time I picked back up, it attacked my valve that they had given me. And so I would continue to an infection would attack my valves and I'd end up back in the hospital. And the very last time when the coma came, they gave me a 0% chance to live. And when I came out, I remember my mom looking at me for the first time in my life and telling me, if you're not done, just tell me because I'm leaving. She was like my last person in my life that actually like gave a little care, right? That I thought. And so I was like, no, Mom, I'm done, blah, blah, blah. And of course, when I got out 6 weeks later, I did go back for a couple hours. And I remember there was a house that I used to do my, where I used to get high, and they wouldn't let me get high. They had known my sisters their whole using career, and mine too. And he was like, you need to leave. You're not going to be able to be here and get high. And he pretty much gave everybody around, all the little guys, their stuff. So it traveled pretty fast. And I remember the last house I had went to, and there was a girl that came in, and she was extremely sick. And I remember all the guys standing around her were laughing at her. And I remember saying, you know what? I don't ever have to do this again. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm ready. And she said, just find your way here and I'll help you. And she did. And that was September 27th. Of 2006, I laid in my mom's bed for 2 days. She wouldn't let me leave, and that began my journey. And I never looked back because I knew that for the first time in my life that I wanted to live. And I had to ask myself, okay, now you want to live. What do you do about it? And I knew going back home was not a good idea for me because every time I went home, I used. It was like a constant reminder. My sisters and I, that's all we had in common was using, and bringing each other down. So I did end up going to, back then you got 6 weeks in, I had 4 weeks and then I got an extension. And of course I followed a boy to a halfway house, which they had back then. And as soon as I said that I would go, I found him kissing another girl. But I had already said I'm gonna go. And I always think back on those situations of all those little things of what it took to get me where I was at. And I kind of chuckle about it now. But, whatever it takes. And then I went to 3-quarter housing for over a year. And, I took that year and I spent with me. And I learned what I needed in life and what I wanted out of life. And for the first time in my life, I didn't need anybody to, to accent or to dictate who I was and to pay for everything. And so, I became a waitress, and I continued to, I had found a higher power, which at that time was, the fellowship that I chose to be a part of. And they were my family, my chosen family. And I just put one foot in front of the other, and I got married. Well, I never said I'd get married again, and I got married in 2010 to an amazing man that accents my life. And then in 2010, I gave birth to my do-over, I call her. The 2 kids that I had given birth to, my relationship with them, if it wasn't for my daughter that I had when I was 15, she, they say be careful what you ask for, be ready when you get it. When she was 16, she hunted me down, and we have spent the last 13 years building a relationship that has been very trying because, there's that anger and there's that hate that they bring with them for everything that you did to them. She never gave up on me. I would push her away, and she was always there. And today, I have 2 grandbabies that, I have 3, but her 2 grandbabies especially, she makes sure that no matter what happens between us two, that those babies are my grandbabies, and no matter what. And so, my son and I, we're straight, he is practicing right now, and he doesn't choose to be a part of our life. And that's okay, I'm here when he's ready. And he has a son, which I'm a part, his mother is amazing, and I'm a part of his life, so it's one of those things where, I have love, and I have family, and I do something every single day that is beyond what I ever thought that I would have in life. I always wondered why I got this crappy life dealt to me, and now I look back and I'm like, thank God, thank God that I truly believe that I'm a miracle many, many times over. And I'm happy. I'm a homeowner. I graduated from college. Like, who does that? An addict like me was able to pick her butt off the floor and become who I am today and live this life worth living, and and do what I love every single day and give back. The company that I work for actually funded me to go to rehab in 2006. So to just do that full circle to me is beyond my wild imagination. And I thank God every day for the life that I have.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Recovery Happens. My name is Patrick Patterson. I'm the Center Manager for Blue Water Recovery and Outreach Center, where our purpose is offering hope to encourage recovery. If you're suffering from addiction or you have a loved one suffering from addiction, please give us a call. If you'd like to donate to the cause of recovery, please visit our website and click on Donate. We want to thank our sponsor, Blue Water Area Churches.